Elizabeth Arden cream.
This One's Wife. The Neighbour speaks. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Many of you have had the misfortune to come across one or more sugars. It's pretty easy to identify a sugar. The fact is, their English is normally substandard, and they can be identified by certain of their calls, if you will. These are, you're just jealous, when they also mean envious. You're a racist. You're a hater. Leave them alone. And you don't know them. Regularly, they squawk with those particular sentences, resplendent with grammatical errors and misspelling, usually of their heroine's name, across the likes of Facebook, YouTube, and especially X. They're spilling vitriol towards principally Catherine and William. They engage in the very behaviours that they criticise others for, showing that just how intellectually stunted they are, with a complete inability to appraise the evidence and to recognise that they are hypocrites of the highest order. It's little wonder that they find themselves gathering together under the banner of This One's Wife. Regularly, I have them lambasting me, saying, you don't know her. But of course, they then go on to say, why are you obsessed with someone that you've never met? And of course, I have. And we have another instance of where information has come from somebody that actually knows about them. And thus, the bleats and the cries and the squawks of the sugars fall once again into redundancy. A gentleman called Barry Maher wrote for the Santa Barbara Independent. His article is headed, This One's Wife, Harry and Barry, or How I Drove This One's Wife and Prince Harry Out of Monty's Shit Show. And it's a useful opportunity to actually examine some evidence about somebody that knows about them by virtue of being a neighbour, and how that information is then utilised. Mr. Mayer writes, I'm not a celebrity. I'm not even sure I qualify as a public figure. But the media used to be my friend. Media exposure built my business, getting me speaking gigs, not just in the United States, but in places like Cancun and Ireland and the Sultanate of Oman. It bought me my home in Santa Barbara. Then recently, I did something despicable, apparently. Prince Harry and This One's Wife were reportedly moving from the Santa Barbara area, and a British reporter wanted a comment about them. I said, I don't know them. I said, I live down the road in a considerably cheaper neighbourhood. I said, since we never see them, local opinion seems to mirror US opinion in general. Some people seem to like them no matter what. Others are unimpressed by the soap opera or just sick of hearing about them. Just my quick take on local sentiment. Not particularly perceptive, hardly newsworthy. But interesting nevertheless, for he details the fact that they hardly ever see them. In fact, he states, we never see them. Is this because they just spend most of their time going around testing the flushing capabilities of their 46,000 toilets? Or might it be that they don't actually live there, that many people have suggested that that's the case? And that the house is just a ruse. After all, filming has always taken place at other venues. There's been the repeated suggestion of Harry staying elsewhere, that he has his bolt holes, that This One's Wife has been staying in a hotel in Los Angeles in order to be closer to her agency. So it may well be all of those observations by people may well be accurate as a consequence of Mr. Mayer explaining that, well, we don't actually see anything of them. He thus provided that quotation saying we don't see them, and basically the views of people around there mirror US opinion in general. Namely, some people seem to like them no matter what, others are unimpressed by the soap opera or are just sick of hearing about them. He explains the first story appeared in the Mirror, the British tabloid. The headline read, "Exclusive, this one's wife and Harry, close to selling £11 million home, as neighbours are sick of them." The neighbour in question was one Barry Maher, me, the only neighbour in the article. The distinction between sick of hearing about them and sick of them is the distinction between journalism and whatever this was. The News International wrote, speaking to the Mirror, PR and communication expert Barry Maher, who resides in the same area, revealed the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are never seen at their property. This one's wife and Harry have 7 acres. I googled it. They could be cavorting around the property with Anastasia Romanov, the Lost Tribes of Israel, and Jojo the Dog-Faced Boy, and I couldn't see any of it from where I live. In the Royal Observer, the neighbours, me, were exhausted by the royals' antics. BNN wrote, Barry Maher paints a picture of a community divided. WP Media reported, Prince Harry and this one's wife plan Monty Shitshow exit amid neighbourhood discontent. Again, just me. Sorry, this one's wife. Sorry, Harry. Please don't sell your cosy little home because of me. Think of young Archie and poor little Lilibert. Think of trying to scrape by without 16 bathrooms. As the story travelled, so did my credentials. Sometimes I was simply local resident Barry Maher. Usually I was given some dubious authority. Barry Maher, who regularly appears on top TV programmes. Really? Or Barry Maher, a PR and communications whiz? The Royal Observer elevated me to Royal Expert Barry Maher, and they should know, observing royals as they apparently do. By the time the story got to Pakistani TV, are you freaking kidding me? I was renowned royal expert Barry Maher. All I know about royalty is that we fought a war to get rid of them. Obviously it didn't take, but apparently if the neighbours get discontented enough, the royals might just leave on their own. And, in this case, the neighbours, or as I like to call them, me, were becoming more aggressive. GB UK royals, with over 140,000 YouTube subscribers, turned my quote into, "We are sick and tired of you. Neighbours asked Sussex to depart." In What's Up Today, this one's wife and Harry were forced to sell $11 million home over angry neighbours. The story circled the globe. The only constants were Barry Maher and this one's wife and Harry. It's always this one's wife and Harry, seldom Harry and this one's wife. If you think I'm going to comment on that, you haven't been paying attention. Well, you don't need to, Barry Maher. You told us everything we need to know in that sentence. In the USA, MSN downgraded me from royal expert to tabloid informant. That probably killed any chance of my alma mater ever naming a library after me, or even admitting I went there. But it wasn't until social media kicked in that I found out just what a horrible person I truly am. I tried to explain. That only made things worse. So I deleted my explanations and just got out of the way. Clearly, the outrage was the point, and it fed on itself. Post after post for days, none of them favourable. Nobody threatened my life. Maiming probably would have been sufficient, as long as it was severe enough to keep me from ever procreating. Surprisingly, few of these people seemed to have actually read one of the articles. They simply knew what somebody had posted about the story, or what somebody had posted about what somebody had posted, or what. You get the idea. It was like the telephone game from hell. Social media had turned on me, and it was a mob. When it came to pure, unadulterated evil, I was second only to the animal photographer, who'd posted that she was looking for a border collie to shoot. So I'm sorry, this one's wife. I'm sorry, Harry, I really am. If it's any consolation, I'm getting out of the renowned royal expert business. Now that articles have started attributing my remarks to an insider, I feel like I'm practically one of the family, which would be a fitting punishment for my sins. Just don't quote me on that. Please. Author Barry Maher may be the only royal expert who ever asked his wife, which one is William? And an interesting article that demonstrates that someone who had knowledge about them offered a simple quote, and then see how it gains legs, how it becomes relied upon by newspapers, and then it becomes referenced in social media as somebody saying, oh, have you heard this? And this is why I make it clear, time and time again, that I leave it up to you to evaluate the evidence to make a determination, and that how I encourage you to think beyond the automatic headline. We see many of the behaviours of this one's wife as a consequence of a recording of what she's doing. We can watch a video and see, for instance, the way that she has to be first. We see the way that she shoves in, the way that she hugs somebody while Harry's trying to shake their hand. We see the way that she manhandles Harry. We see the rictus grin. We see the dropping of the facade from time to time. All of that is good primary evidence on which we base evidence of her narcissism and enables me to interpret it for you through the prism of her narcissism. But it's also the case that a tremendous amount of nonsense is written about this one's wife. Now, as you know, I'm no defender of her, but I am somebody that wants the actual evidence rather than just theory and speculation. And that's why it's important as you, not only in terms of your determination of what this one's wife does, but also in your own involvements with the narcissist, to determine the evidence. Because by going to the evidence and applying the appropriate logic, you'll get a result and an outcome far more favourable to you and far quicker. My psychopathy causes me to always function with logic. The way that I've been trained is to look at the evidence, to base decisions informed upon that evidence, to interpret the evidence in the appropriate way. And this is something that I seek to instill in all of you. And this article is just another example of how that ought to be done. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.